Does size matter? Yes, it does, and here's why. Now let me explain to you why size matters. We'll start off with these 4 snakes here. We have 2 pieds and a highway and a freeway. I bought all 4 of these snakes last year, so this is the last day of September 2021. These snakes I bought around this time they were probably actually born in September, and I actually got them once I moved into my new house, October of 2020. So I've had all 4 of these snakes since they were hatchlings. I got them as soon as they were ready to be shipped out. So, you know, they're probably around 100 grams or so. Now, as you can see, they're all a decent size. They've all eaten pretty well, but there's a pretty big size difference from this highway male here to this freeway female because of their eating habits. So, if we start off by weighing this guy here, actually, looks like it's shut off. And I'm going to focus on the freeway and the highway because there's the biggest weight difference between these two. And he is coming in at 602 grams. So we'll kind of try to remember that. He's 602. And he's not going to go in there. And as you can see, I also have him in a smaller tub than the other ones, which says a lot about his eating habits. Next, we will, let's see, let's go with my other male here. So this guy is a leopard lemon blast pied. He's eating pretty well. So the last guy was 602. And he is 726. So there's a 120 gram difference between this male and the other male. Obviously, he's eating a little better than the other guy. So let's put him back because I don't want to focus on him too much either. Just kind of giving you a size reference for all these snakes. Now we will do the female pied. She is a awesome snake. She's actually one of my favorites. She's a Pastave possible leopard pied. Beautiful, awesome snake, just the gold color. She's actually gotten a little more gold as she's aged. She actually is the second ball python to have bit me. She actually bit me this week, so she has the she gets on that board. She's 744, so she's a couple grams more than the pied male. So 744. So we have a range from 602 to 744 right now. And I think this freeway female, she's a Pastellinci freeway, is the biggest of the 4 snakes that I got from last year. She's 896. So she is pushing 900 grams, and she is the same age as a snake that's only 600 grams. Now, let me pull this girl a little closer to you. So she's a year old and almost 900 grams. As you can see, I am not power feeding this girl. She is not obese. She is not overweight. She probably has literally the perfect ball python body shape, body size. She's perfect. She eats every single meal. She eats if she's in shed. She eats if she shed yesterday. She eats if she's starting to shed 2 days ago. She never misses a meal. She has taken frozen thawed from day 1. Now all 4 of these snakes I started roughly with the same size prey, and I started them all off on frozen thawed, and they all started taking frozen thawed almost immediately. The other 2 snakes that were a little bigger than him, the 2 pieds, I haven't really had issues with them eating. They still eat frozen thawed really well, but they don't eat like when they're in shed. Sometimes if the rat's a little bigger, they won't take their next meal, which is understandable. And they're not much smaller than her, but they're still almost 200 grams smaller than she is. Now this guy took frozen thawed for me forever, and then decided he wanted to stop eating probably 3 or 4 months ago, just for no reason whatsoever. Once I moved him up in prey size, he didn't like it. He didn't like going from like a weaned rat to a small rat. So I kept him on weaned rats for quite a bit of time longer than he should have been, which is why there's such a big size difference between him and the other two. Since then, he has stopped taking frozen thawed altogether. So I've had to switch him onto live rats, and now he's eating like small live rats. Now, he's not even eating those on a consistent basis, but he's at least eating them and taking them when he's kind of in the mood to do it. Which is why now there's a 300-gram difference in size between these two snakes that were born at the same time. They've been in my collection for the same amount of time. They've been here for pretty much exactly 12 months, and this guy is 300 grams smaller than this girl. Now, males typically, usually almost always, are smaller than females because the females have to lay the eggs. The females need to have, you know, probably a little bit higher body fat content than the males do. He's probably still in line with where he should be for being a year-old. I would assume that probably by late winter, he's probably going to be like the perfect size to start breeding him. I probably could breed him right now, but I'm going to wait because he's been so picky with feeding that I don't want him to go off food, lose more weight, and then it just kind of kills your whole breeding plans for the guy. So you want to make sure that he's really a good size, and you don't want to just go off of, well, they hit this certain weight, so it's time to breed. This female's 900 grams, and technically speaking, when she hits 1,400 grams, she'll be ready to breed. But I'm not going to breed her at 1,400 grams because I'm sure she'll probably hit that by midwinter. That's probably too early. I'll probably let her continue to grow and start pairing her up probably this time next year, assuming that she still keeps feeding. And at that point, I bet you she'll be doubled in size. I bet she'll probably be 2,000 grams, and she'll probably have a nice size clutch at that age. Now, these are all the same age. I got them all at the same time. They've been here for the same amount of time. And that's just how big of a gap there can be in size between two snakes that feed pretty well. I haven't had a whole lot of issues with, but one decided that he wanted to be a little more picky than the other three. Here's where the size matters thing comes into the equation. And this is sort of, it's a video I've wanted to make for a while, and it kind of goes back to a video that I posted earlier in the spring where I went to go purchase a dreamsicle female when I was looking for dreamsicles. And I messaged, it was like a 2018 or 2019 snake, and there's no weight listed. So I emailed the breeder saying, hey, what's her weight? And he said, I don't weigh my snakes. And I said, well, the weight sort of matters. It's a 2-year-old snake. It could be breeding size. It could be 500 grams. I'd like to know the weight. He said, well, I don't know, but as long as it's eating, it doesn't matter to me. And at that point, I knew that I wasn't going to buy the snake from him. But I guess humored myself a little bit, and I said, look, I said, I'm your potential customer. I'm trying to buy a several $1,000 snake off of you. I would think customer service-wise it'd be pretty good to just weigh the snake for me and then make your money. And he kind of argued back and forth with me a little bit, and then we just stopped the conversation. And at that point in time, I didn't know if I made a video about it or if I just commented on it in a video saying that that happened and size does matter. This is why size matters. I have a lavender albino het pied, which is a dreamsicle maker that I bought in the spring of this year. That was a known picky eater. I knew that before I bought the snake, so it wasn't a surprise to me when I got it, and it was potentially going to have feeding issues. To my luck, she actually started taking food right away for me. She was taking small live rats, and she ate them continuously for probably 2 to 3 months, and then stopped. And it's probably been 2 to 3 months since she's consistently taken them, and it's probably been a month since she's eaten anything. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to weigh her and show you her size compared to this girl. It'll kind of just resonate and kind of show you how much it really matters, how much the snake weighs in comparison to the age. And I'll tell you how old she is after I weigh her. So this girl, oh, thing shut off again. So remember, this girl is sitting right at 900 grams. And this female is 935, let's call it. But guess what? this girl is 2 years older than this girl. This girl's from 2018. This girl's from 2020. And they're essentially, there's a 30-gram difference. They're essentially the same size. This girl's probably not even going to be ready to breed this next year, in the next 12 months. And she's already 3 years old. By the time I bought her, she's probably going to be close to 4 years old. She's still not ready to breed. This girl's probably at breeding weight at 1.5 years, and she'll absolutely be bred at 2 years old. And this is the reason, especially with females, that size matters, because a snake could be double the age of another snake and still not be ready to breed. If it's a picky eater, if the breeder wasn't feeding it properly and keeping it at a nice feeding schedule where it's gaining weight at a good amount of time. As you can see, this snake's even extremely shy. Most of my adults don't ball up like this. This one, as you can see, is just kind of chilling out. I actually call her Honey because she was, as she grew up, she was always kind of sitting at the front of her tub, and immediately when I'd open it up, she'd run out and she'd want to crawl everywhere. So when she'd come out, I'd say, "Hey, Honey." So she's actually, her name's Honey. This girl doesn't have a name, but it makes a huge difference when you're buying your snakes how old they are in comparison to their weight. Because if you would have bought this lavender albino het pied and paid $2.5, and I actually got her less expensive, I got her for like $1,000 because of her feeding issues. If I would have paid $2,000 or $2,500 for her, not knowing that, well, she's only 900 grams and she's not eating consistently, and it might take me 2 to 3 more years to grow her up to be able to breed, I would have been really upset. I think I bought her and she was maybe 600-700 grams when I got her. So she did put on 200 to 300 grams since the spring, but considering her age, that's actually not a lot, because she could be eating medium-sized rats right now, and she could be pounding in, you know, in the pounds, but she's not. So when you guys are buying your snakes, when you are, especially older ones, you want females that are, you know their age, you know their weight, and you know that they're eating consistently. And males probably don't matter as much. You could probably even buy a male that's eating mice, because males don't need to be as big. They don't need to be 2,000, 3,000 grams to lay eggs. They can probably sit around 800 to 1,000 grams and be perfectly healthy the rest of their life just eating mice. But you can't breed females eating mice unless you have an endless supply of mice to feed your adult females. Because I have a 4,000 gram snake down there, and if she only wanted mice, I'd probably be feeding her 20 mice in a sitting to fill her up. So size matters. Know the weight and age of your snake, especially with females. Know their eating habits. Make sure you're buying from a reputable breeder that's not going to try to rip you off. And you know, that's kind of my argument for it. You know, some of you guys, I think when I originally posted the last video, kind of argued that it didn't matter, but it absolutely does, and don't let anybody tell you differently. Again, here's proof. I have a snake that's 1 year old and a snake that's 3 years old, and they're the same exact size, and this girl is not overfed, she's not power fed, and she's not overweight. And even in the 4 snakes that I have that are the same age from last year, there's a 300 gram difference between the smallest and the biggest. So it matters. The snake's eating habits matter, and when you're buying something that's a little older, you want to make sure that you're buying a snake that eats every single time you feed it. So that is it. These are two of my pretty girls that hopefully in the next 2 years will be dropping clutches for me. And thank you guys for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.